Hello everyone. It's Amy Bolton here, intuitive wild woman, medicine woman, owner of Live Healthy, Be Happy. That's the name of my business for the last 10 plus years, which is wild. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching the replay, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Feel free to say hi. Let me know how you're doing and what's going on today. If, I don't know, what is going on in your life today. I would love to know if you've ever heard of yarrow. Yarrow is one of my favorite plants. And so today we're going to talk about yarrow. I know I've introduced myself a bit in all the other series, but it seems like every time I get to do a new video, I get to kind of try a little different flavor, right? So here I am today, and I was excited the other day. I kind of briefly looked into my book, because we're going through each chapter through this series. We're going through each chapter of my book that I wrote last year. And I looked at the table of contents, and I was like, what is after Saskatoon berries? Because that's what we talked about last month. And I was really excited to see yarrow, because this is one of the plants that I started working with and understanding very early on, and I've been working with it for a long time. And it's a very ancient plant. It was found in the Neanderthal tombs, and I talk about that in here. I'll show you a picture that I have in my book here. Oh my gosh, I'm excited to go through all of these. So this is what the flowers look like on the top of yarrow once it grows. Now the thing that I encourage people, and I talked about in the very beginning of this series in the introduction, is watching plants through the seasons. So this is called earth magic, right? When we believe in the magic, when we want to see the magic, we start to see the magic. So when a seed gets planted, it comes up and it grows and it grows and it grows, right? And so there's many seeds, and there's many root systems of plants on this earth that are already existing and already growing. And it's a pretty magical experience to watch plants come up as a little seedling. And these, I picked some pretty big yarrow leaves from my yard. The little ones on the lawn are much smaller than this. They might look more like that. And quite often yarrow is just growing right on our lawns. And if we let it grow nice and tall, it can get quite big, depending on the climate. In northern British Columbia, Canada, where I grew up, the plants didn't get very big because we had a short season. We had a short summer season for growing, a short growing season. And so with that, what I found was, I'm going to pull myself up over here. I totally forgot about that. Just in case some of you are commenting and I'm not seeing it, I'm just going to pull this up over here. So when we have such a short growing season, perfect. Okay, now I can see them. The plants don't get as big, right? So with yarrow, I've moved further south, so they get really tall, right? Because they're competing with all the other plants, and they all want the light. They all want to be out in the open. And then when plants get cut on the lawn, they learn to stay small, right? We've all seen those little dandelions probably that are like just barely popping out of the ground. Well, those plants have learned that they're going to be cut, and they're going to be cut, or the animals are going to graze on them and over again. So they have to stay small, and they have to bloom small so they can reproduce, right? So they're going to look different depending on where you live. If you're higher up in altitude, they're not going to get as tall. If you're lower down, where there's like, we're in a rainforest here, you're going to get bigger plants. So these are just starting to pop up. They don't quite get fragrant until the flowers bloom. And then you can really smell. And sometimes in the summertime, once they get nice and fragrant, I'll just kind of stuff them into places to use it as a natural bug deterrent, right? To keep the mosquitoes away, and the black flies and the no-see-ums and all those things, all those wonderful bugs that we have in the forests. So that is a great thing. It also is very helpful if you have any injuries out on the trail. You can chew it up with some plantain, and you can make your own little salve right on the trail. So this was found in 40 to 60,000 year old Neanderthal tombs. It's a very spiritual plant. It's a very protectant plant. And it's so interesting because as I came into my journey of becoming a medicine woman, stepping into my power, remembering all of my gifts, remembering that we as women used to all be medicine women, whether that was being in the kitchen and working as a kitchen witch that would create food for their family and their community and, serve soup to whoever would drop by, to picking herbs and drying them and hanging them and collecting them. This is some dried yarrow that I have from last year and likely the year before that I make into tea. So you take your cup, hot water, you can put it in here, and you can use a tea strainer. You can just do it straight out on the trail if you want, just putting fresh leaves in there. There's no real way that you can do it right or wrong. Just trusting and listening and connecting with the plant. So if Yarrow's being called to you, if you've been curious about these interesting little plants growing on your lawn with the white flowers, I encourage you to explore it more. And like I said in the very beginning of this series, I only encourage people to work with 1 to maximum 3 plants per year, because what I want you to do is I want you to see the plant at all the different seasons. Now, I don't just know how this plant smells at different parts of the year because I read it in a textbook. I know because I've experienced it, and I've grabbed the plant, and I've felt it, and I've touched it, and I've picked it, and I've drank it, and I've had it in my car. So I have huge yarrow branches. You can't see my hands, but as far as I can reach across the front of my car. And I put those there to protect me, to add a sense of spiritual protection in my car as I'm driving. Well, yes, I am the driver. I need to be in control. But it helps to know that I have that protection of this plant, because I know this plant has been working with me since I was a wee little girl. And I talk a bit about that in my book, in the chapter about yarrow, about how my dad was conditioned to eradicate many of these weeds, which are not always weeds. They are quite often very nutrient dense and very powerful herbal medicines. And it was confusing as a little girl because I loved the scent of yarrow. I loved the look of yarrow. I loved picking yarrow. It had pretty little flowers on it. And the earthy aroma, like even this isn't as scent filled as this. This smells more like yarrow. But once we get to summer and these start flowering, these little branches are going to be really, really filled with scent. So this is knowledge that I've acquired through working with this plant, through the seasons, noticing, right? Because if you look in a field guide and you see something like this, you're not going to realize that this is also yarrow, right? So I want you to think about these plants as we're going through each of them. Which one is calling you? Is it yarrow? Is it the Saskatoon berries we talked about? Is it the, what else have we gone through? I'm just going to look at my table of contents. We've gone through some meditations, and there might have been a different plant that maybe I don't even speak about. Maybe I don't even know about it, that you're going to start exploring, and that's perfect. Have that childlike curiosity when you're looking for plants and you're wanting to explore plants. So we went through Cranberry, Saskatoon, and Yarrow. Yeah, so we haven't been through a lot of the plants in my book yet. But we'll get there. We'll get there through the year. We'll get through them all. And these are just the plants that wanted to come to me while I was writing my book last year. There are many more that I'm still working with. So I have a new 3 set of plants that I'm working with this year. I'm discovering the benefits of horsetail at the moment. So I'm drying them out. They're harvested in the spring. So I encourage you to expand that and really think about what are the plants in your area. And likely yarrow is going to be growing all over the place. So this is something that regardless of where you are, you can connect with this plant if this is something that you are feeling called to reach out to or feeling called to work with. And we can all use a little spiritual protection, especially as we are recovering and remembering and moving forward in a new direction on this earth. I'm just going to bring up my notes just to make sure that I am talking about everything. So let's see. So we've talked a little bit about taking these and turning it into tea, which I do through the winter. I'm a little bit disorganized when it comes to all my things because I was at a retreat this weekend and I wanted to show you, oh, this book is here. Of course, this is beautiful. So when we look at these plants, so yeah, this isn't necessarily the one I wanted to, but this is a really good book. So here's another picture of yarrow. So you can see it with its flowers and its leaves, right? And that's the Squamish name for yarrow, Seisem Achikwa. And this is from my mentor, Lee Joseph, who had taught me and opened this gift to me. So it can be used as a with your Epsom salts in your bath as well. She has a little recipe here. So taking a blend of dried yarrow seeds and flowers okay, my Wi-Fi was disconnected. Put it in like some cheesecloth. So take this dried stuff, put it in some cheesecloth, and have a bath. And let it steep in the water. And you can blend it with other things like lavender or sage, which I think I found in my yard. I've been looking for sage for a while, but I think I found it. I know there's many, many more plants that are wanting to come through and share their stories. So you can have baths. So in the bath blends, and I did sell some of these this weekend, I take Epsom salt. My internet keeps cutting in and out. I take fireweed. I love the fireweed petals on the flowers because they're bright. They're really bright. They add a pop color to the bath. The yarrow, chamomile, wild chamomile, all those things. And I put them in an Epsom salt bath and I bundle them up. And then you can use them in your bath. So it is a nice way to get the scent of the plant. It's got that aromatic feeling when you're having a bath, right? Okay. It's very good for, like I said, I talked a little bit about wound healing. If you're out on the trail and you have a scrape or an injury, you can use it that way. You can use it in a tea. It's great for fevers. There's so many great things. And this is the thing I feel like I talk about over and over again, is when we destroy the earth's surface. So when there's like a cut block or there's disruption to the soil, like we're building a new building or something, whatever us humans do, we like to disturb the soil a lot. The plants that pop up are such healing plants, right? And they are nurturing plants. So to me, the messages that I've received through the energy of the plants is that the earth is just, it keeps giving us. It's like, here, do you need to heal? Is everything okay? Right? Because the earth is so much older than we could ever even imagine in this tiny little lifetime that we're living. And it's hard to even comprehend what has happened on this earth and how interconnected all these root systems and all these seeds and all these plants are, and how the wisdom is just known to grow. And here I sit in central, some people call it northern, it's not quite northern, BC, Canada, on the west coast of British Columbia, and on this property that nobody had lived at. No humans had lived in this property for about 3 years, from my understanding. Our yard was taken over by wild plants. And I joke around because my garden, so we have found where the people 3 years ago had built these rock walls around these gardens. And I love how wild these gardens are. There's fireweed, there's yarrow, there's plants that have been planted, like forget-me-nots and bleeding hearts and all these other flowers. But in amongst it, there are all these wild plants, many, many, many thimbleberries as well. So I touch a little bit on thimbleberries in my book. They're a new plant to me because I didn't have them growing up north, further north, right? Thimbleberries are more a coastal plant. Yarrow grows everywhere, like I say, but it's just a different size depending on the climate. And so, like I touched on a little bit, my dad used to call it stinkweed, and he didn't like the cows eating it because it made them taste bad, or whatever he used to say. And so I use it a lot for a spiritual protector. We have it around my home. We have it scattered about. I use it on all my altars. It's such an abundant plant that there's no fear of over-harvesting. There's no fear of, it's a weed. It grows everywhere. It's a very, very powerful weed. And it's great if you have a cut. You can use it as an antiseptic, to put directly onto wounds and to heal, to help heal. Yeah, okay. So let's take a moment, because I like to drop ourselves into our bodies. And take a deep breath down into your belly. And out with sound. Wiggle your body, release, get comfortable. If you're watching, get yourself comfortable. And just breathe. Breathe into your body. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. If not, that's okay. I get it. And imagine yourself out on a beautiful lawn. And on the edges of the lawn, where the wild wilderness connects to this landscaped, manicured, mowed lawn. And you see these plants growing. You see these yarrow plants, and you're curious. You come up to them, and they're tall. It's about mid-season. They've started blooming. You can smell the aromatic, earthy smell of the yarrow plant. You notice all the tiny, little, intricate flowers, little white flowers, and the spiky branches off of the stem. Maybe you rub some of the petals and you notice how earthy and the smell that's coming up. And you can sense how powerful this plant is and its healing properties. And you step back and you can see the yarrow kind of lining the yard, as if they're kind of soldiers protecting the wild space, protecting all the other wild plants that grow beyond. The yarrow, maybe with a backdrop of fireweed that's growing taller and taller beyond it. And beyond it, there's berry bushes of all kinds that are growing on the edges of the forest. And this is nature's guild, nature's ecosystem. living and working and growing together. Maybe deep down in front of the yarrow, you see some wild strawberries. And all of these plants are working together. Maybe there's some clover under your feet and a couple blooms of red clover beside the yarrow. And they're all working together, and the yarrow is protecting this ecosystem. The yarrow is standing tall with its fragrant branches, confident in its ability to continue to add spiritual protection to this earth, to remind us how powerful we are. And you sit down and you look around. What do you hear? Do you hear the birds in the distance? Perhaps it's starting to rain. You hear the little droplets on the leaves and the trees and the grass. You can smell that scent of the new rain coming. You know it's adding to the earth and the ecosystem. It's giving nurturance to the earth so these guilds can keep growing and keep offering us more and more. And you notice that nobody's tended to this garden. Nobody's taken care of it. They've just mowed the lawn to the edge and let nature take its course. As it always was. These plants have been growing for thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of years, many of them. Maybe there's some ferns and horsetails around. Ancient plants that have been on this earth plane for way longer than we could ever even imagine. And they hold wisdom for us. Now I want you to take a moment and connect with the yarrow plant that's in this beautiful guild. And listen. Stop and listen. What is it telling you? What messages is yarrow giving you right in this moment? What do you hear? What do you see? What do you notice? Okay. Now from here, perhaps you stand up from where you were sitting and analyzing all these wild plants. And you wiggle your body a little bit and notice that the clouds are parting and the sun is coming through and basking on your skin. And all the plants are so excited to see the sun. They start turning towards the sun, as they do in their gentle, subtle ways. And you wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers. And open your eyes and come back into the room, back to where you are. And maybe you perhaps pause and write down in your journal the messages that Yarrow has passed to you. What is Yarrow offering you today? What messages does she have for you? I invite you to tap into that. So you can get out your journal, you can do that, you can write about it. And then I ask you, have you ever worked with Yarrow before? I would love to know. I would love to hear your stories, because part of me learning about plants and being a medicine woman is also learning from you. We are all teachers. We all have so much to offer. And I love to hear other people's stories. So if you have a story to share, if you have a plant that you want to share about, Is there a plant that maybe I haven't spoke about or we're not going to be talking about that you want to hear about or you want to share about? Share. Share in the comments. Practice using your voice. Practice speaking up and talking about these plants. This is how us as women used to share this knowledge. It was never in a textbook. It was never in a book. It was passed through storytelling from woman to woman. We would show up and we would share tea. We would share bath blends. We would help each other cleaning and cleansing and cooking. We would share recipes and tips and tricks. And that is why I keep things very simple. I taught a workshop this weekend on sacred spirit plant healing. I only had an hour. My main message that I hope I got across to people was keeping it simple. Keep it simple, right? So in these meditations where I drop you in and we connect with the plant, I encourage you to take that meditation and create it in your reality. Whatever nature you have around you, get out and connect with it. What plant are you drawn to? What plant is speaking to you? Now, some plants I've found that are speaking to me and they want to offer me healing. I'm not always ready, but I keep observing, I keep watching, I keep listening. And eventually, I'm open to their healing and I'm open to what they have to offer me. But I want you to keep being curious and keep connecting and listening and hearing. Because as I sat underneath the maple tree, I keep hearing that I need to learn more about trees because there's so many trees. There's so many different trees out there. The maple tree had a lot to say. A lot to say. I had a really, really beautiful moment beneath the maple tree in my front yard. And then the other tree, which I still haven't quite figured out the name of yet, but that's what's being asked of me, is to learn more about the trees and the local flora that lives around me. It has a lot to teach me. And while I hear these messages, I just keep trying to be open and listening and listening and listening. When I showed up at the campground this weekend, I could tell I was getting a little stressed out. We were parking the trailer and we were getting set up. And I knew that there was a packed schedule and I wanted to be present for everything, right? I wanted to do it all. And so in order to do that, I had to be ready for each workshop, each circle, each activity, right? And so I was a little nervous and I could see the cedar trees just reaching out. And it was as if their hands were reaching out to me. And I grabbed the cedar bough. And I said, thank you. Thank you for reminding me why I'm here. I'm here to teach others to connect. We can get so caught up in our heads, so caught up, so stressed out about things. But look around and listen to the plants. They're speaking to you. And the cedar reached its branch out to me. And I grabbed it and I said, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And in that moment, all that nervousness and all that worry just whoosh, went away. And that's how quickly that can happen. We just step out, we connect to a tree, especially when we get to know that tree really well or we get to know that plant really well. It can take it all away. Okay? So, I'm just thinking if there's anything else I want to reiterate. Yarrow, this is right here in my notes, it says, Yarrow teaches us to tend to our boundaries with love. So while it offers us protection, it reminds us to hold boundaries. And it kind of has like this subtle background protection, right? So that we can be in love and we can be soft and strong and powerful, and we have these Yarrow protectors around us. Yeah. Okay. So I invite you to go back and watch the other videos if you haven't done so. I invite you to also purchase my book. I'll drop the link. It goes through many different plants. So we've gone through cranberry, Saskatoon, yarrow. Next month we'll go through rose, then spruce, red clover, dandelion, fireweed, raspberries, strawberries, gooseberries, blueberries, arnica, chickweed, and then I'll start going through water, fire, and earth initiations. And this is a beautiful, beautiful recollection of all the lessons and stories and initiations that I've been through and had the privilege and opportunity to learn from the plants. And again, I want to also learn from you. So share your story, share them with me. Let me know how you're doing. And I'm here. I'm here to support you and encourage you to be curious and have fun. All right, sending you so much love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Talk to you soon.